Ozzy Osbourne didn't just survive decades of partying, he was genetically built for it. For decades, people were saying he's gonna drop dead at any moment from all the drugs. But turns out his ability to survive all those substances, it was written in his DNA.
Tonight we're looking at some bizarre TikToks that will make you question your reality.
Video shows a car backing through the front doors. Moments later, more than a dozen masked robbers swarm the store, breaking.
Apple has just dropped the highly anticipated iPhone 17.
The most bizarre part about these TikToks, it says around 70% of you guys are not subscribed. So make sure to smash that subscribe button. If you're seeing this video right now, like it and hype it up so we get pushed through the algorithm and we can grow the fam. One of my comments a couple of months ago said I should name the fam Famity, and I was like, yo, that's actually pretty creative. So I'm gonna start calling y'all Famity. That's the name of the group. Let's go.
History has just been made today in Africa. After 14 years of construction and $5 billion, the continent's largest hydropower dam has finally had its grand opening in Ethiopia. Standing at 145 meters high and a massive 2 kilometers in length across the Blue Nile, it is now among the top 20 largest dams of its kind in the world. It has been described as a leap into the future because now it's open, it will double Ethiopia's current energy production capacity. That's enough to power around 5 million homes simultaneously. This is a literal game changer for the country because as things stand, around 45% of Ethiopia's 130 million people lack electricity. But after today, many homes which have never experienced what it's like to have electricity will do so for the very first time. Just imagine that. But also, this will now open up industrial and manufacturing opportunities as well. And not just for Ethiopia. With surplus power, they can even export this electricity to neighboring countries in East Africa as well. But what do you guys think? Is this dam a W or L?
Morbid Facts, Part 658. On July 14, 2017, Chester Bennington appeared in a carpool karaoke episode with comedian Ken Jeong. In the video, Chester looks joyful and full of life, laughing, cracking jokes, and singing along to Linkin Park hits as well as popular songs like Hey Ya. The footage offers a bittersweet glimpse of a man who appeared to be genuinely happy just 6 days before he tragically took his own life. In 1993, a Mexican zoo official was arrested in Miami after trying to illegally purchase a live gorilla, only to discover the animal was actually an undercover agent in a gorilla suit. The operation was part of a federal wildlife trafficking bust and led to one of the most ridiculous arrests in American history. As a child in the Philippines, boxing legend Manny Pacquiao ran away from home after witnessing a horrifying act. His father, drunk and enraged, killed and ate the family's pet dog. Devastated, Pacquiao fled and began living on the streets, sleeping in a cardboard box and surviving by selling donuts and scraps. The trauma of watching that happen to his beloved pet pushed him into a life of brutal survival at just 12 years old, an early glimpse of the hardship and violence that would define his relentless drive in the ring.
A brazen smash and grab heist caught on surveillance video. This happened at a jewelry store in San Jose, California. Video shows a car backing through the front doors. Moments later, more than a dozen masked robbers swarmed the store, breaking open display cases. A shirtless man, the store owner, was knocked to the ground. He suffered a stroke and was cut by broken glass. According to people who know him, he is expected to be okay. Police say no arrests have been made.
That has got to be one of the most lethal clips I've ever seen. You see how that guy just pushed him? I was like, yo. There was so many men that came out of that car. They probably had like a bus load of people. There's no way that amount of people fit in a car. It was so bad, it gave bro a brain attack.
Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can save £50 per person. That's £200 off for a family of 4. We've got millions of free child place holidays available, with 22 kilograms of baggage included. But now, with Jet2 holidays, package holidays you can trust. Patronage protected.
It was crazy that popped up because I was just talking to one of my friends literally today about how like it feels like everyone forgot that Trump almost got assassinated.
What is the tattoo effect? Have you ever heard the term tattoo baddie? Well, the tattoo effect is the idea that if you take a normal person and give them a tattoo, they instantly become more attractive. But to put that to the test, let's see if it's true for some already attractive movie stars.
What do you guys think about the tattoo effect? If you take someone normal, right, like me, for example, I have literally 0 tattoos. If I got hella tatted, would I look 10 times more attractive? That question is only for females. And for the dudes, if you see a girl that's hella tatted, do you find her more attractive? Let me know your thoughts about that in the comments. I'm actually kind of genuinely curious. The first thought that came to my head is like, what put bro in that predicament?
He turned plastic waste into gasoline, went missing for weeks, and now we finally know what really happened to him. His name is Julian Brown, and he's been going viral with his experiments turning plastic junk into usable gasoline for vehicles, which he calls plastiline. Yet another revolutionary innovator of efficient and easily accessible energy disappeared, and everyone was worried for his life. Ever since he posted this cryptic video to his socials saying that he's under attack and that he's getting hunted down by some sort of shadow agents. He went ghost for weeks, and everyone thought they got to him, which kind of makes sense. Big Oil definitely hates this guy. As you may or may not know, anyone who threatens the dominance of oil and gas companies tends to go missing. It's happened countless times in the last century whenever an inventor comes out with technology that can create energy in unconventional ways. Just like Stanley Meyer, who back in the 80s created a car engine that ran on just water, which he and several scientists validated in many tests, who mysteriously passed away from a sudden brain aneurysm as he was signing a deal for his invention in 1998. Technology that would have provided cheap and easily accessible energy to the world. And that's kinda what Julian Brown has been working on, and he's been getting a lot of attention on social media for it, building his own makeshift gas station, showing and documenting his entire process of turning plastic junk into fuel. Fuel that can power cars, potentially even jet fuel, providing energy made from literal garbage, calling it a microwave pyrolysis reactor, basically a high-tech oven that melts plastic using a very specific process that turns it into a flammable liquid that can be used as gasoline. And he proves the plastiline gas is real by testing it on many engines in his videos, all while working in a remote location somewhere in Alabama for added safety, and turns out he really needed it. Dealing with crushing heat and relentless mosquitoes, which got so bad he had to create his own sunscreen using all natural ingredients with no carcinogenic chemicals that was also a mosquito repellent. Julian Brown really is the real deal. He was even recognized by Forbes magazine in May, and his company, NatureJab, was highlighted for his many revolutionary achievements, including his microwave pyrolysis reactor, his plastic gasoline machine, directly recognized by Forbes. Oh, and it's also solar powered. His machine was even tested by ASAP Labs in Washington, which confirmed it burned cleaner than regular diesel. Ahead of creating his company, Brown was selected as a 776 Climate Fellow, a 2-year program that recognizes young people for thinking of innovative ways to tackle climate change, which, whether you believe is real or not, is still an impressive accolade of his. Also receiving a $100,000 grant from Alexis Ohanian, co-founder of Reddit, and tens of thousands of dollars in additional support from a GoFundMe. Not to mention he's been featured on the news as well. To put it simply, everything this guy claims he's doing for real. There's no doubt about that. Well, in a then deleted, now reposted video, Julian appears extremely uncomfortable, claiming that he's being watched and is under attack. That he's seen many black helicopters watching him from the sky, with spotlights shining down and tracking his every move. Helicopters that circled him over 5 times and came so low that he could feel the wind of the blades on his body. He's been saying that something big is about to happen and even admits that he may not live for much longer, which he's actually mentioned in many other previous videos as well. That he's being watched and is receiving literal threats from unknown sources. That the EPA and the IRS are specifically targeting him, and that all it'll take for them is to deem his invention a national security threat and they can legally shut it down. Despite these threats, he promises he will never back down from his ultimate mission, to bring plastiline to the world. Well, after this video posted in the beginning of July 2025, he goes dark and doesn't post for weeks on end, which kinda made the internet panic. Speculation started circulating online that he's gone missing and that something bad probably happened to him, as we know has happened time and time again with disruptive inventors of his nature. Well, a week or so later, his mom came out and told the Daily Mail that she can confirm Julian is safe, but is currently in hiding, and in the best interest of his security, she can't reveal any more information. Everyone assumed the worst, that the oil and gas energy mafia got to him and stopped him from spreading his plastiline invention to society. But then, about 3 weeks after his disturbing message, he finally comes out and tells the world he's back and what's really been happening. So apparently his iCloud was hacked by some anonymous hackers who were able to remotely monitor everything on his phone, and then were able to hack into his Instagram account, posting his driver's license online and exposing his address to the world. No matter how many times he changed his password and updated his 2FA, the hackers would always find a way back into his account, which tells us these definitely weren't some regular 2-bit hacker trolls just messing around. These guys were professionals. They knew what they were doing and were very experienced. So Julian went dark as he got support from Meta to fully get his account back, as some of us know can take a really long time. Also saying that Meta actually tracked down exactly who hacked him, which we'll hopefully figure out very soon. And I can't imagine any regular person who would be against someone from releasing cheap and accessible gasoline to the world, except for anyone involved in the oil and gas industry themselves, as something like this doesn't look good for their wallets, who have systematically suppressed alternative energy technology for decades, using patents, lawsuits, and convenient accidents to maintain their empires and cover up inventions that threaten them, which suggests is exactly who went and is possibly still going after Julian Brown. He's been showing the progress he's making on his machine, still hard at work on it, and as of now has been posting ever since. Everyone keep an eye on this guy and protect him at all costs.
These are videos that they tried to delete from the internet.
Ozzy Osbourne didn't just survive decades of partying, he was genetically built for it. For decades, people were saying he's gonna drop dead at any moment from all the drugs. But turns out his ability to survive all those substances, it was written in his DNA. Ozzy had a never-before-seen mutation in the ADH4 gene. This mutation made him make much more of the enzyme that chews up and breaks down alcohol, meaning he could clear alcohol out of his system much faster than most people. That means he'd lose his buzz even more quickly and have to keep drinking and drinking more to maintain his buzz. And this means his body also could metabolize that alcohol quicker, so it didn't do as much damage. The second mutation is the ARRB2 gene. This controls how the brain feels dopamine drugs, like methamphetamine. Ozzy's mutation likely made the meth feel more stimulating, yet at the same point less damaging to his nervous system long term. This gene also affects the opioid system, which brings us to our third mutation, the OPRD1 gene. This controls how your brain responds to opioids. And again, Ozzy had a very rare version of this. Now, we can't say for sure if it made him more or less responsive to opioid drugs, but based on how long he used opioids, in my expert opinion, I think it made him less sensitive, which means he needed more opioids to feel something due to his higher drug tolerance, and also had fewer withdrawals when he stopped using. So yeah, Ozzy was literally born to survive that rock star life.
My thoughts is like, what if he did it so much it literally caused the mutation? Like, he wasn't born with it, but since he did it so much, his body just kind of mutated to like withstand that much drugs, if that makes sense. Let me know what you guys think about that.
Have you ever heard about the Lady of Fatima and her prophecy about the end of the world? In 1917, 3 children experienced a miracle in Fatima, Portugal. According to the children, the Virgin Mary came down and showed them a vision of hell. That became known as the first secret of the Lady of Fatima. The next time the children saw the Lady of Fatima, she gave them a message that World War I would be ending soon. But she warned that a worse war was coming. She specified that if Russia didn't change their ways, that it was going to lead to a lot of destruction on the planet. A year after this, World War I did end. This became known as the Second Secret of Fatima. She told the children that she would be back on October 13th, 1917 to reveal the biggest secret of all. On that day, 30,000 people showed up to witness a miracle, and the Lady of Fatima revealed to the children the darkest secret of all. She told the children that they were not to reveal the secret to anyone until 1960, where it should go directly to the public, not to the Pope. One of the children, Lucia, grew up to be a nun and was devoted to keeping the secret of Fatima until it was time for the public to know. In 1941, Sister Lucia became ill, and a bishop forced her to write down the secret to give directly to the Pope so that the secret would not die with her. Although Lucia recovered, when the Pope saw the secret, he declared that it will never make it to the public and banned anyone from revealing it. At the time, Malachi Martin, a priest and exorcist, was working in the Vatican. He read the third secret, but under oath could never reveal it to the public. By the 1990s, Malachi Martin started to reveal the secrets of the Vatican. He claimed that the breath of Satan had taken over the Pope and the Vatican, and started to reveal it in his books. Although he revealed many secrets, he was under oath to never reveal the secret of the Lady of Fatima. Near the end of his life, he did several radio interviews on Coast to Coast with Art Bell. He said he would not reveal the secret, but that if someone knew the secret, he would confirm or deny whether they were right. One woman said that she was told by a Jesuit priest that when Pope John Paul read the secret and it said that the last pope would be under Satan's control, that he fainted because he thought it was him. Malachi confirmed that this was true. Another person said that it would be about a false religion and the Antichrist. Malachi confirmed that this was true. You know I'm going to bring it back to Behold a Pale Horse. He claims that U.S. intelligence agencies believed that this event might have been alien manipulation, so they utilized their Vatican moles to get the secret. In the next part, we're going to dig deeper into the third secret, how it lines up with the Nostradamus prophecies, the Book of Revelations, and Malachi Martin's strange death.
I literally do not understand how this is not mainstream household information. Like, every time I review this information, my mind is just blown over and over again. Just watch.
Here's another interesting scientific fact. The heart is an electrical organ, producing by far the strongest source of rhythmic bioelectricity. This energy goes to every cell in your body. Your heart produces enough electrical energy to create a magnetic field surrounding your body in 360 degrees, extending beyond the skin out into space, measurable about 3 feet outside your body.
So the moral of the story is our heart radiates out. This is why our culture constantly, naturally, intuitively refers to having good vibes and bad vibes. We already can feel this sixth sense. Literally, electromagnetically, all our hearts are talking to one another. We are immersed in a 360 spherical bubble in each other's heart bubbles all the time. So it matters whether you're in a negative or a positive state of being, because this literally creates your interaction with reality, with people, with events. This is work done by HeartMath. They are a nonprofit that has been doing this since 1991 for 30 years. It is time we start really giving energy to this, giving understanding to this, and implementing this into our world. We need it now more than ever.
We all need a friend like 21 Savage. A person who could tell you the truth even though it might be hard to hear sometimes. You see, 21 Savage's friend Young Thug has a problem. See, Young Thug was in jail for something called a RICO charge, and while he was in jail for that RICO charge, he made a bunch of phone calls to his friends, 21 Savage, a bunch of people. Those phone calls were recently released anonymously. Well, what does that have to do with 21 Savage being a good friend? Well, again, one of the phone calls Young Thug made in jail was to 21 Savage. He calls him, he says, "What's good, my boy?" 21 said, "What's good, what's good, what's good?" Young Thug said, look, 21, I want to release a song about Gunna, because he a snitch. And I want you to be on it, 21. See, at this point, Gunna is accused of being a snitch, but we'll get to the snitch allegations in a moment. But first, 21 Savage's response to Young Thug is, hey, if you want me on it, then I got you. But are you sure this is something you want to do? Young Thug said, boy, ain't you hear me? I said he a tattletale. Yes, I do. 21 Savage said, well, if I can be honest, I don't think Gunna did what he did to hurt you. You see, what Gunna did was he took something called an Alfred plea. Basically, the police wanted Young Thug in jail. They needed to prove that Young Thug's record label was a criminal organization. How do you prove that? By getting people to say Young Thug's group is a criminal organization. They pull in Gunna. They say, if you say Young Thug's group is a criminal organization, you get 0 jail time. Gunna's lawyer said, boy, you better tell him it's... Gunna said, I got you. Young Thug's group is a criminal organization. Now, it's important to note that multiple people took this deal and this furthered the case against Young Thug. Now, whether you think that's snitching or not, that's up to you. But regardless, 21 Savage's response to Young Thug was, I don't think it was personal. Young Thug's response is, well, what would you do if you were in Gunna's situation, 21? 21 Savage says, well, Gunna and I are respectfully different people. I'm 21, real street baby. But I digress. Ain't you tell your brother to take the same deal? I said, because Young Thug absolutely told his brother to take the same deal as Gunna. I just didn't think 21 Savage would use it to further his argument. You see, Young Thug told his brother to take the same deal because everyone else took the deal. Young Thug's case is already difficult, so he tells his brother, you might as well take the deal and get 0 years. So 21 Savage's point is basically you understood the deal when your brother took it, but now you don't understand when Gunna took it. Explain. But on the phone, listen closely, with 21 Savage, Young Thug says, I did not tell my brother to take that deal. 21 says, well, your brother is telling everyone in the streets that you did. Young Thug says, Gunna broke my heart. Is that what you want to hear me say? Everything we've been through, when I saw Gunna stand up there and say YSL is a criminal organization, it broke my heart. 21 Savage says, I understand, I got your back. Just know I do disagree with you at some points. You are technically still Gunna's boss, so if you're really upset with him, maybe you could squeeze him for more money, do things through the business side, but if you want to release an album dissing him, just know I got you. And they both end the call saying, I love you. So it goes to show that you can disagree with your friends, you can challenge your friends. Yeah, that was a rapper named Young Thug. Apparently he went to prison for like around 2 years or something like that because he was fighting a RICO charge. He was about to face life in prison, but apparently one of his main persons or his best friend apparently snitched and said that his record label, known as YSL, is a street gang and a criminal organization.
Please state after each statement whether or not you agree or acknowledge that statements are true, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I became affiliated with YSL around 2016. Is that true as it pertains to you, Mr. Kitchens?
Yes, ma'am.
YSL is a music label and a gang, and you have personal knowledge that members or associates of YSL have committed crimes in furtherance of the gang.
Yes, ma'am.
And apparently that broke his heart. But what's crazy is a lot of leaked things came out about Young Thug himself saying that he also snitched. So I don't know, there's a lot going on right now.
Now Young Thug is doubling down saying he didn't snitch and y'all need to stop trying to compare him with Gunna. Bruh, be honest, you did tell. It is what it is, gang.
I can tell you, you'll see those files that I shared with you. They did find stuff. There was an incident in October of 1982 over an ICBM base where UFOs popped up, was observed over this base where the missiles are pointed at us, United States. These UFOs perform incredible maneuvers. They split apart, they fuse back together, they'd appear and disappear. And right at the end of this 4-hour period, the launch control codes for the ICBMs lit up. Something entered the correct codes. The missiles were fired up and ready to launch, and they could not shut it down. The Russian officers were panicking. The UFOs they disappeared. The launch control system goes back to normal. Colonel Sokolov and his team came in, took the thing apart, could not figure out what it was. It wasn't a power surge or EMPs or some of the baloney excuses that our country has given for similar events involving our nuclear missiles. They thought it was a message from wherever the UFOs were from. And that's a chilling thing. I mean, we were a couple of seconds away from World War III starting, and the UFOs were responsible for it.
Apple has just dropped the highly anticipated iPhone 17. But there's one feature that's got a lot of people pissed. For starters, this year you'll have the largest iPhone lineup ever to choose from with the iPhone 17, 17 Pro, and the all-new iPhone Air. Now this thing sits at only 5.6 millimeters thick, and it's encased in, you guessed it, titanium. In fact, they say this structure they've created has made it the most durable and strongest iPhone ever. Jerry rig everything, you know what to do. They claim it's unlike anything you've ever held in your hand before. It has a 120Hz display, it has the A19 Pro chip, giving it the fastest CPU of any iPhone. Apple says that it has
MacBook Pro levels of compute in an iPhone.
But the super slim design doesn't come without its sacrifices. It'll only have one camera, one speaker, it's eSIM only worldwide, and the battery life will take a hit. In fact, in their presentation, they simply said it's got all-day battery life without specifying hours. Immediate red flag. And then straight after that, they went on to speak about this new battery pack that they've made, and that when used together with the iPhone Air's battery, it'll give you 40 hours of video playback. But it would kind of defeat the purpose of having a super slim phone. However, what does have nearly 40 hours of video playback is the iPhone 17 Pro. And yes, this year it actually looks different. Kinda. Now, the new battery they put in this thing is admittedly a beast. The largest ever, in fact, with a massive 39 hours of video playback. They've ditched the titanium already, and they've now gone back to aluminium, but this time the whole thing is now essentially this unibody shell with a cutout on the back that's made from this ceramic shield. And the reason they've gone for this extended camera bump, apart from just wanting it to look different, is the upgraded camera. For the first time, all three rear cameras are now 48 megapixel. They'll have 0.5 to 8 times zoom for video and 40 times zoom for pictures. Oh, also, all of the new 17 models will have this brand new front camera that Apple is calling center stage camera. Essentially what this is that they're using a square sensor for the first time, and this new shape gives more pixels and a wider field of view. Because of that, you now no longer need to turn your phone if you want to capture landscape. It'll use AI to auto zoom out for a wider shot. It'll be 18 megapixels and also super stabilized. But the one feature that people are pissed didn't arrive is reverse wireless charging. A lot of people expected this year to be able to charge their AirPods or even another phone with their phone. I would also people are pissed that the Pro model only comes in 3 colors, and one of them is not black. These are all of the prices for the 3 models, and let me know what you guys think. Did Tim cook? Or is Tim...
What do you guys think about the iPhone 17? I'm kind of due for an update, so maybe I get the 17 or the 18, but I don't know, dude. Pretty expensive phones. Let me know what you guys think about the iPhone 17.
So this famous comedian sort of helps catch a serial killer. Now the serial killer's name is Joe, and Joe is around 28 when this story starts, and he's a police officer living in California. And Joe is just a straight up villain. Like, all he wants to do is hurt people. And so one day in 1974, he starts doing just that. He starts breaking into people's homes, but he's really weird about it. Like, a normal burglar will get into a house and they'll look for money or valuables, but Joe instead looks for random things. Like, he steals from piggy banks, he'll steal class rings or engraved jewelry, stuff that would have sentimental value just to mess with people. And since he's a cop who's worked on lots of burglary cases, he knows how to do all this and not get caught. And so he does it for about 2 years. But then he runs into a problem. Like with a lot of these types of people, stealing random things loses its appeal after a while. It's just not thrilling enough for Joe anymore, and so he escalates things. He starts breaking into people's houses while they're home and SAing the women he encounters. And he does this over and over and over again. And so this goes on for about 3 more years. And when that stops being thrilling enough, he escalates things again. And he starts breaking into houses and murdering the people he encounters. And he does this over and over and over again. And 7 more years go by. And it's now 1986. And Joe's around 40 years old at this point. And he's no longer a cop, but he's still going out and breaking into people's houses and committing murder. In fact, over the last decade, he's broken into around 120 homes, he's essayed 51 women, and he's murdered 13 people. This guy is legitimately evil. But then, that same year, Joe suddenly just stops. Why does he stop? Well, it's speculated that he stops because this is 1986, the same year that law enforcement starts using DNA identification to solve crimes and track down criminals. And he's been leaving DNA all over these crime scenes. So now Joe knows if they match his DNA to the DNA at the crime scenes, he's screwed. So he stops, and he moves on. He starts living a fairly normal life. And no one ever suspects that he ever broke into any houses or killed anyone. And 20 years pass, and it's now 2006. And that is when we meet this woman, Michelle. Michelle's about 36 during this time, and she writes for a true crime website called True Crime Diary. It's actually her website. And Michelle, she's been writing about all sorts of different true crime cases and stuff for years. But at some point, she becomes interested in this old, unsolved string of crimes from the 70s and 80s, where this mysterious guy went out and murdered and SA'd a lot of people in California. And she gets way into this case. She's writing stuff for her website. She's writing magazine articles for magazines. She keeps putting this case in the public eye, which is generating quite a bit of interest, which is therefore generating a lot of tips and information for police to follow up on. And this goes on for years. And Michelle's work is so compelling that she eventually gets a book deal out of all this. So now she's writing a book about this case, still not knowing that this former cop Joe is behind it all. And so she works hard on this book. She becomes obsessed with writing it, working on it every day, working on it so much that it's making her anxious and it's like stressing her out sometimes. But she is determined to get it done. She really wants to see this case get solved. And by 2016, when Michelle is 46 years old, she's pretty far along at this point, somewhere between halfway and 2/3 of the way finished. But then, that same year, the absolute worst thing happens to her. So Michelle's husband is actually this guy, Patton Oswalt. And Patton, he's a famous actor, comedian. He was the voice of Remy in Ratatouille. He's been on a lot of TV shows, Parks and Rec, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's been working a long time. You've definitely seen him and stuff. So one morning, Patton is at home, and he comes into the bedroom where Michelle is asleep, and he finds that she's not breathing because Michelle had unfortunately, suddenly passed away in her sleep. And so later, they have an autopsy done, and that autopsy reveals that she died from an undiagnosed heart condition combined with an accidental overdose of medication she was prescribed. It was extremely sudden and extremely tragic. And Patton is, of course, devastated by this, for a lot of reasons. Not only did he lose his best friend and partner, but he's a public figure. So he's sort of expected to get out there and talk about this experience publicly.
I'm not trying to say that this is meaningless, but it really does. Everything seems like the lights have been turned down 50% on everything since she's gone, you know?
Now, Patton also knows how much catching this killer meant to Michelle. He watched her work hard on her book all those years. And so he decides to take over this project and make sure her book gets finished and published. And so he gets to work, and he recruits an investigative journalist and also this researcher that Michelle had been working with. And he gets them to go over Michelle's manuscript and all of her notes and stuff, and together they're able to put together all her research and compile her work into the latter section of her book, and they actually end up finishing it. And in 2018, Michelle's book finally gets published. It's called I'll Be Gone in the Dark. And it immediately blows up and becomes #2 on the New York Times bestseller list. And again, her work keeps this decades-old unsolved case in the public eye. So now a lot more people are interested in figuring out who this killer is. Meanwhile, police have somewhat been continuing to investigate all those murders in California in the 70s and 80s. And they've got some old DNA evidence, but they haven't ever really been able to use it because it doesn't match anyone in any of their databases. But then they get an idea. They're gonna run it through this genealogy website. Like the ones where you submit a Q-tip sample and they tell you all about your family history. One of those. And so they submit this killer's DNA to one of these websites, and boom, they get a match. and that allows them to narrow it down to like 1,000 possible people. So now they have to go through this long-ass family tree, but they eventually zero in on one guy. A guy who had never been a suspect before. Former police officer Joe. And Joe is like 72 years old at this point. He's old. And so police are like, who the fuck is this guy? But they look into his background and they realize he was living in the area when all those crimes happened. But they still need his DNA to match the DNA they found at all those crime scenes. And there's no way he's gonna voluntarily give that to them. And so I guess police just like sneak around his home and they get some of his discarded trash and they get some DNA samples from that. And so 32 years after Joe committed his last murder, bam, they arrest him. Here's his mugshot. And ultimately, Joe gets sentenced to life in prison. While in 2020, Michelle's book gets developed into an HBO docuseries called I'll Be Gone in the Dark.
I feel like that's just more proof that when you do a crime, you can never truly know if you got away with it or not, because 30 years down the line, they can still come back for you. Isn't that crazy?
Now, when you are together
Live
with
translation
someone who speaks a different language, like exploring a market abroad, AirPods Pro will help you understand them in your preferred language. Using a new simple gesture, live translation begins. Translating Spanish, while ANC lowers the volume of the person speaking.
No
so
way.
it's easier to focus on the translation.
Example, please.
Hello, welcome. Today, all the red carnations are 50% off. And it doesn't just translate individual words. The meaning of each phrase is translated for you. When you need to talk, just speak naturally.
I'd love to take some of these to my sister for her birthday. I'll buy 8, please.
Your iPhone displays your words
yeah, that's
in their
cold.
language and can even read them out loud if needed.
That's cold.
Live translation
That's
is even
cold.
more useful when both people are wearing AirPods Pro.
That's cold.
I agree, yeah. Let's include the
Eu concordo, sim.
Oh my god, so you single dons can be doing international riz now. Long as you both got AirPods, you're sweet.
The fact that AirPods can actually translate language is crazy. Like, you could literally be talking to someone in a complete different language and they can completely understand you. To me, that's like literally like next level technology. So hats off to Apple.
Thank you all for watching this here